All right, so I just finished showing you guys Sgraffito. So putting the underglaze down, carving away, revealing color of the clay body so you get that contrast. I am now going to show you guys the layered Sgraffito. So I have already put down actually 3 layers of black underglaze. So I've got a nice solid layer of black underglaze. I am now going to add some white underglaze over the top of it. So I'm going to be layering thick layers of underglaze on top of one another so that when I carve back into it, doing Sgraffito, it will reveal the color of the clay body, the black, the layer of white, and then I'm also going to add a layer of chartreuse. So make sure your underglaze is really well blended. So I'm just going to shake it up a little bit before I start painting it on there. And again, I'm going to paint 2 or 3 layers of underglaze so that I get a nice thick layer that will show when I start carving away. And I'm going to leave a little bit of the colors that I painted underneath showing so that you guys can see, so you know what will be revealed when I carved away. So I'm just going to leave some of the black on the outside. You don't have to do this. You could just cover the whole thing. I'm just doing it so we can see what colors were painted underneath before we carve away. And I'm not being very careful with my painting. You guys might want to be a little bit more precise than this. And this brush isn't terribly great either. It's kind of dried in a funny position. All right, so I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll come back and do a second and third layer. All right, so my first layer of white is dry, or pretty much dry to the touch. So I'm going to paint my second layer of white here. Again, I'm leaving that little line of black on the edge so we can see what colors are underneath. All right, let that one dry too. All right, third and last layer of the white. Again, I made sure to make sure that last layer that I did previously was dry to the touch before I put on another one. Because if you try to apply another layer of underglaze on something that's still not dry, it could pull it up, and then you'll have a big chunk kind of pulled up out of your underglaze layer, and it will leave kind of like a weird dip. So just make sure you're, being patient, let it dry. All right, so I'll let this dry, and then we'll move on to our third layer of our third color. All right, our third color, again, I'm going to apply, after this layer has dried, and I'm going to apply 3 coats of the chartreuse on top of the black and the white. So I'm going to leave a little bit of the white showing again, just so we can see what colors will be revealed when we go back in and do our Sgraffito over the top. So just painting this last layer on here. Well, not last layer, last color. First layer of last color. And you can do more than 3 colors. You could do the whole rainbow if you wanted to. Just being careful not to get the layers of underglaze too thick, because if you have 10, well, this is technically 9. If you had like a ton of layers that starts getting really thick on top of your slab, these are going to dry a little bit quicker and possibly crack off of your slab. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to make like an inch thick of underglaze layers. You might start running into some drying issues. All right, so I'm going to smooth this out and let it dry. I will apply the last 2 layers. I won't make you guys sit through watching me apply the next 2 layers of chartreuse, but I am going to do 3 layers of the chartreuse. So it's a total of 3 black layers, 3 white, and then 3 of the chartreuse before I start carving back into it. All right, so you guys can see I have now applied the 3 layers of the chartreuse. So I have 3 layers of black, 3 layers of white, 3 layers of the chartreuse. You can see the paint line here too. I was kind of sloppy with that, so I'm just going to take my rib and kind of clean up that edge a little bit. Just my own personal preference. I like it to be a little bit cleaner than that. I could just wait to and do it later, but I'm just going to do it now. So, all right. So same thing as Sgraffito, right? You take a loop tool and you carve back into it. So I'm just going to carve into it. The lighter I carve, the less is exposed. So this chartreuse is still a little wet, which it would be better if it wasn't. 2, the whiter the tool, the more color will be exposed here. So I think in hindsight, I would have done maybe a couple more layers of the white and the black. It seems like the green went on a little bit thicker, but you can kind of see, and it might show up more when it's fired. You can see, see if that'll focus on there. The white is exposed, and then a little bit of the black is exposed before it shows the clay body. Let's see if we can get a little bit more exposed here. I should probably clean out my, sometimes it gets kind of jammed up in there, so I'm going to clean up my tool. So I would say this needed more black because the white is showing. Not much of the black is showing though. Again, clean out my tool. Because the underglaze is still a little more wet than I would like it to be, it's kind of clogging up more than it should. And I will see if I can get some kind of close-up images for you too, because you can see a little bit better if you're up close. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that so I can show you guys a little bit up close. I think part of it too is that my slab was pretty wet. I don't know if you can see in the pupil of the eye there. I'll probably take a picture of it like up close so you can see it. You can see a little bit of the white and then a little bit of the black before it goes to the clay body. Again, I'll do a close-up so you guys can see it a little bit better than in the video. This camera isn't great at focusing when we get up close. But that is layered Sgraffito.